Welcome to the Cleaning with Purpose podcast. We've got the full high-level crew here today. Usually it's Dave and Jeff or Jeff and I. Today, Will has joined us. Thank you, Will. So happy to have you join us in this podcast. Our goal today is really clear. We're going to recap what Dave and I had made 2-3 weeks ago, core values. Then we're going to talk through specific growth goals for the next 12, 36, 72 months. And then we're going to break down the specific services, solutions, products kind of thing that we provide towards those growth goals. The aim for this podcast is twofold. One, to educate people and help them get to know us. The other is to assure that they understand in great details of depth what makes us unique, what makes us, I'm going to say exceptional. I'm just going to put it out there. So let's frame for that real quick. When we think about the exceptional business, there's 3 parts to it. And we've talked at length about this in some of our strategy work, in some of our previous sessions and so forth. The first one is that we have exceptional vision. And I don't know about y'all, but I've been getting some updates from this man. Hey, can you post this in Basecamp? Here's the latest iteration of our vision, updated on this date at this time. The second area is exceptional relationships. There's a human psychological truth that every human wants to feel seen, heard, acknowledged, and loved. The better we do that through our recruitment process, and I say recruitment for team, but also for clients, the better we follow up. Will, you and I were just talking about this. Follow up. Right. We want to follow up until they say, stop calling me, stop emailing me, just leave me alone. But we're following up with love, with care for their future, tied to our vision of making sure that they're taken care of today, tomorrow, and the future. So that's a big piece to this. The third area of the exceptional business kind of model is exceptional systems. And you don't get to the size you're at with Crystal Clean unless you've got great systems and they're followed. So that pre-frame really sets the tone for some of the things that we're kind of known for and have been for, we'll just say, a few decades. So that being said, with what I've just shared, we'll start with you to see how you do with this. Any questions, thoughts, takeaways with exceptional vision, relationships, systems, anything you want to share?
Well, I'll just take it on the relationship side. I feel like in sales and marketing, we have to have those relationships, those bonds with our prospects, with our customers. People buy from people they like, and if we're their trusted advisor and we can offer something that they might not get with company B, then that may set ourselves apart. And you always want to grow, build, and retain those relationships.
I love it. So what's one thing maybe in the last week, 2 weeks that you do? And I'm going to change your wording a little bit. People do business with people they love.
Love it.
We're taking that to another level here today. What's one thing in the last week, 2 weeks that you feel you've done to demonstrate, I'm going to say, exceptional love through the relationship lens? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, I would say I took a community association manager out for dinner one night. He'd been giving us some good leads that had converted into some recurring work, and I wanted to just show a nice thank you for giving us that opportunity and multiple opportunities. So I thought a dinner would be a good token of appreciation.
But I love that. So there's a real clear, I don't want this to feel like it's forced, but there's a real clear connection that when we think of exceptional relationships, especially in the community association manager's case, we do the work to figure out what their intrinsic and extrinsic values are, and then we work to live to them. So let me give you an illustration. If you know, well, I'm just going to use my illustration of me. If Dave was to say, Charlie, I have a dream day planned for us. We're going to go to the Continental in Naples. We're going to sit outside and you're going to have the most delicious burger you've ever had, which is true. Then we're going to go to the beach. We're going to chill out. We're going to talk business, and then we're going to have some fun. Then we'll go down to Fifth Avenue. We'll walk the beach up to Fifth Avenue. We'll go to Gelato & Co. And I know you love the single dip hazelnut gelato that they make exactly like in Italy. How does that sound? I'd be like this. How did you read my mind? So our job as we think about exceptional relationships is to deeply understand, and that requires that we ask our customers, our team, and I like to think of it like, because I'm a spreadsheet guy, keep a spreadsheet of people's names and keep a spreadsheet of the things they love and the things they don't love and the things that matter to them. And then say, what can I do here to really add value to their life today, tomorrow, and the future? Now, that can be construed as manipulation in some ways, but if we're doing it from a true heart, that's a different feeling. If you're like, I know you like these things, so let's put them together and see what we can make happen. You feel that difference?
Yes.
So when you think about what I've shared as part of your future growth plan, or already doing that, do you map that stuff at all through the relationship lens?
Yeah, no, definitely.
Awesome.
I refer to it as an Alfred index. So Alfred is, the butler for Batman. So we want to be the Alfred to the client's Batman. So some of the things I would track are just those kind of metrics, maybe where they graduated from school. Are they pet lovers, sport lovers? Those are things that I'm into, and I want to make the connection with them. So it's a genuine relationship builder there, and I do track it and I log it.
I love that. I think we just have something that's amazing. Go ahead, Dave.
Kind of reminds me of that expression, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And in life, it's all about relationships. Business is no different. It's about developing relationships. In our business, we're interested in long-term recurring clients. We're not a one-and-done type business that we're in. So you have to get to know the clients and care about them, get to know their family if they're willing to share, and get to know them, what they like. And kind of remind me of, mentioned this before, a quote from Walt Disney always said, people spend money where they feel comfortable. And everybody's comfortable at Disney World, unless, of course, it's super hot or crowded. But that's why they'll pay, $10 for a popcorn or $8 for a Coke, because they're comfortable. They trust the people there. They're in their environment. And not that it's about money, but you've got to show that you care. It's a necessity.
Yeah, that's one of the big things that I do the editing. I don't have to, but I always do the editing for our work because I just learned so much. And I did the editing for the video we created in the core values. There was an inherent language that emanated from you beyond the words, but the language was, I care deeply. I care compassionately. I'm going to say unconditionally loving. Like these are embedded in us as values that emanate through the lens of how I'm describing family, client, company.
Yeah.
It was very apparent, especially at the opener where you're like, oh, I got to do hair and makeup. Done.
Yeah.
I laughed. Any other thoughts of what I've shared?
Just like we mentioned in the core values, that family comes first, whether it's our literal family, our wives, children, et cetera, or our family of workers, because my personal view is life is short. You need to enjoy it. You want to work with people you like or love and care about. And we've done that over the years, built up a great team that really works together well. They legitimately care about each other as opposed to competing with each other like you see in the corporate world, for example. So it makes life so much more enjoyable when you look forward to going to work and, meeting Jeff or Will or doing lunch with them or the guys in operations or administrators. It just makes life more enjoyable. So, a quote from Don Henley of the Eagles when he was on tour. He came here to Fort Myers, and this is when he was on his own after the Eagles had broke up and before they reunited. But anyway, he said, life is too short to tour with jerks. So you can imagine a rock band touring, week after week, and it's brutal. And so his conclusion was, I'm going to tour with the people I really love and care about and enjoy this. And eventually they worked it all out, and now they do get along. Of course, when you've got $200-300 million in the bank, I suppose fewer things bother you.
Or they offer you the sphere in Vegas to say, hey, get together, we're going to give you $1 million a night.
That always stuck with me. He said, life's too short to tour with jerks. So I think the same thing with work. Life is too short to work with people you don't really care about. Why do it? If you have the option, work with people you really like.
Thank you so much for sharing.
It worked for us.
The biggest thing is some people, especially new entrepreneurs that I coach, and I was totally this guy in the late 80s. I didn't think I had a choice. I didn't even think that there was a choice.
Yeah.
I'm like, whoever comes in is my customer. And I was under this really dumb belief that the customer is always right.
Yeah.
So I turned that around. The customer is not always right, with a little word that I won't share. And we said that people that we want to work with, we're going to work to make it right. We're going to collaborate, co-create, and aim for it. But we're going to do a great job of pre-qualifying people to make sure they're aligned with our values of, at the basic level, it's being good people. And when we unpack good people, they're caring, compassionate. They'll tell you if something's wrong. So they're great at communication or decent at communication.
Yeah.
And they're going to share that with us. One thing I want to unpack, because you shared a recurring revenue model, that means that with a client, this is a journey, not a destination. So when you're on the journey, let's go ahead and make sure that we're with people who aren't jerks. Let's go ahead and facilitate from our side great energy, great care, these kinds of things. And I feel like you guys totally deliver it. I remember it wasn't too long ago, Will, when you were the new guy here. And it was like, oh, this is like, he is the fabric of what this essence is and has amplified. I just want to celebrate you, man, because
thank you.
You are, this is a huge thing that we need to unpack through this lens. You're on a growth path, like we all are, but you really take things from the perspective to the mindset to the tactics. There's a lot of people in the world who are like, I hear good ideas, but they don't put them in play. What I've noticed with you is you take great ideas and you're like, okay, I'm going right to my desk. I'm going to start to think about how I'm going to implement and I'm going to put it in play. I'll give you a report in a week. That's called speed of implementation. And some of this, and I'm not here every day, but it feels like you're totally nailing it. Any thoughts with what I've shared?
Yeah, no, I've always tried to, I think imitation is the best form of flattery, right? So take little bits and pieces of what you hear throughout the day from the great people we work with to clients themselves to the cleaners that are on the front line. You can get information from anybody. Yeah. The learning never stops. So
the feedback loop is critical. Elon has been, in terms of Tesla and all of his businesses, he wants the managers not in a big building off-site. He wants the managers right on the floor. Mm-hmm. So they're sitting there looking at the floor. If there's any issues, they handle them now. And then they implement through that lens. There isn't a delay. We got to wait till next Tuesday to talk this through. No, it's happening now. And there's the feedback loop and then doing action with it. So we have not talked to one of the manliest of men in this room. This one. Takeaways, thoughts, insights. What you got for us, Jeff?
Yeah, there's been a lot building. So, relationships and Dave used the word legitimate. And I think that's one of the big differentials where people know when you legitimately care about them. Like I said, if you use the word love, when we go out and we talk with people, we build these relationships, we work with them, we build these relationships, and they're real. So to your point, everybody that comes to the table on the client side and from Crystal Clean side really needs to be on the same page. That's where we work best, and that's when things go best, and that is happening. So, bragging on Will some more, when you get to relationships, what's developed in the past, we're already seeing the fruitage of people that he's worked with in the past going, oh, hey, Will Powers at Crystal Clean. I think maybe we should look into this. We have appointments next week. Big, good clients because of that. And you can't miss that Dave's been doing it for 35 years. And so part of the calls that we get and the repetition of work that we get is because Dave established this a long time ago. We have a restaurant on Sanibel that we're still working with. And how many years, Dave? It's been... I was looking at the records. So as far as our digital records go back, they're there.
Over 20.
Yeah.
That's a testament.
It is. And it's real. That's the thing. I don't think we could fake it. We get out with people, like you said, that really don't register as being people that would want to work with us or vice versa. You go, we understand that. We're not for everyone, but we want to be the very best commercial cleaner we can be to people who want to have somebody who will be client-centric, service-centric, make sure that we do the best we can and follow up. If it's not good, we'll take care of it. That's who we are at the core. So many of our clients really appreciate that, but it's been established for a long time. And those relationships, the people that we like and like us, you go, it's very real. It's legitimate. Legit.
Too legit to quit. There's such a testament to unpack through that lens of the fact that to keep a client for 20 plus years, especially in this industry, there's a few metrics that we measure. One is the idea of keeping great relationships. Another one is the systems. Yeah. One of the things we've shared in the previous episodes of this work, and this is one of the big things that came up, I did basically a 10 different way AI study on the common complaints in our industry in Florida, in Southwest Florida, in the nation, and in the world. And the first thing that came up was consistency over time. And one of the things you shared was it's this common metric in the business, this business especially, but it happens in a lot of businesses, where there's an excitement in the sales process and there's an excitement in the new client process. And then if you measure with a line chart that excitement level and then the associated quality of work, sometimes they correlate and it goes down over time. And then that person, that company is like, you guys aren't doing what you know, they're not feeling the love is kind of how I look at it. And they're not seeing the love, meaning the care and compassion through the lens of the actual tactical work. Any takeaways with that part of this?
Yeah, one of the things I remember, I purchased this company back in 1991, and the previous owner, one thing he said to me that always stuck with me, and it's true, is the most common complaint he gets from clients is, well, this company started out great and then it tapered off month after month after month. And that always stuck with me. And that's where the systems come in, scheduled inspections, scheduled client visits, so it doesn't slip through the cracks. To keep that consistency up, that's the challenge, because anybody can start out great, but to keep that up is really critical. And that, like we said before, that's where it comes in, getting to know the client. What are their pain points? What do they really need or want? And, focus in on that so that we become the solution provider, the go-to company in this area for all cleaning solutions. And again, it comes down to systems and measuring things and tracking things, because, if you don't measure it, you can't manage it, sort of theory. And so that's helped tremendously. And it's always evolving, too. As companies grow, a company that's, say, at $1 million a year, a certain system will work. But when you get to 3 or 4 million or 5 or 6 million in sales per year, you need better systems. You have to be more comprehensive, simple to follow and to implement and to track. And so I think, like Will was saying, you can never stop learning. It just always evolving, always learning. What's helped tremendously recently is AI has just been unbelievable for helping us to advance the company. And so I love that our team is early adopters, interested in learning the latest tech, and you yourself have helped a tremendous amount with keeping up with the latest in AI, because it's evolving so quickly that those that sit back and wait are just going to get left in the dust. So it's exciting. It's we all love to learn. That's a biggie.
So I just want to unpack that, and I want to talk through. Right now, what we're going through is the how part of what makes Crystal Clean unique. I like to think of the how level of what we're talking through as our superpowers, and you just shared a bunch. But the pinpoint of the what is consistent service. How we do it is through systems. And the number one complaint that this was an international compilation was inconsistent cleaning quality. And then there's another piece to that puzzle, is how are we growing to do better work? We are so honored, and I am honored to get to have my second year at this convention. Next week. Is that next week?
That's right.
Well, week and a half.
Week and a half, yeah.
And when we were there last year, I had a keen eye on what was AI integrated or what AI solution. And there was I don't know how many booths, it felt like there were hundreds. There was basically 3 booths that seemed to have a good indication on AI integration, above and beyond like basic AI integration, that were like, we'll say early adopters, but also really thought leaders in that space.
Right.
And I'm just imagining that this year it's going to be like 10x that.
10 times,
Yeah. So we're really going to, and I'm hoping if you guys are up for it, to be on the floor with cameras and mics, and we'll be just busting this stuff out, talking about it. Of course, we'll be sharing it with people. But the thing that I want people to realize is this. We're the kind of people that are passionate about this. This isn't, I don't know if you guys all feel this way, but I certainly do. This is a gift that we're going to go to a place where they have put together this convention. And our lens of life is to see where the growth path is and how it can serve our families, our clients, and our company in the best ways possible. What is it that we need to prioritize and integrate? What is it that we're missing, if we're missing anything? What is it that we can do to amplify care, compassion, love through the tactics of what we do? Any thoughts with what I've just shared through the lens of this beautiful convention?
I think so. You immediately know when you're connecting with people who have similar core values, or you're on the same page. And Dave's been really good about helping us learn and helping us be around people who, even within the same industry, the same commercial cleaning space, the more people we meet, like in Nashville, Cleaning and Cocktails, which is associated ISSA, immediately you're able to just start to amplify and grow based on what you hear and see and perceive from people who maybe have done it just one step ahead of you.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that's how that happens. And the learning curve, it just accelerates tremendously to be in that atmosphere around people who have similar goals.
The part that I love is it's a perspective buster. You're like, you get this rhythm of life, and if you're not careful, it becomes ingrained in your brain. This is the fact. This is the way it got to be done. And then you meet people, and then if you're open, I always use my life theme. If you were to boil down life themes, and maybe you guys can do this exercise too, my life theme is joyful curiosity. And when I unpack that, it means to be joyful, I have to be energized. So there's a set of things that I do for that. I get my sleep, I hydrate, I eat nutrient-rich, and lately it's keto-friendly, keto-based. Gives me ketone energy, which is so freaking amazing. If anybody doesn't know what that is, just Google it and then try. Just get into keto on day 3, live in it, ketosis for 24 hours, and just see your body go, what? This is what it's supposed to be? And then 4, exercise. So to be joyful, these are some of the elements that can come to that. There's also psychological work that I do, journaling, gratitude, these kind of things to add to that. But then curiosity is, there's a constant curiosity of growth. What else can be done? What else can we do? Now, when I prepared for this, AI did such a tremendous job of saying, if you want to feed my model right, there's 2 things you must know. One is, if I'm going to offer AI overviews for people searching for what you do, and I've generated that content, meaning that there was no seed of your company's values, approach to it, I will degrade that solution for people searching for what you do, and I will favor content that is seeded with what we're doing right here. What does that mean? It means if we say from the transcript of this podcast, let's go ahead and create a landing page about condo area cleaning, common area cleaning, and I want to do some Q&A too. AI told me to ask you specific questions so we can feed itself through our answers, not its answers. That is unique. Think of it like this in the old days of SEO. Come on, Grandpa, let's talk about the old days. There was a thing called a duplicate content penalty. And that was if you took a page from somebody else, a competitor's site, put it on yours, and then they put it in a third place, they all got devalued. What happens with AI is AI knows what it's written, and AI knows what it hasn't written because it's unique to its brain, if you want to call it that. And what we're developing here through the podcast we've done over the last year is unique content that's seeded. Now I can say, without any kind of disconnect, please write this blog post from the voice of Dave. Please write this part of this blog post from the voice of Will, because it knows the voice of Will from what you've shared already in today's podcast. Same thing with you, Jeff. There's a ton of video where it knows the voice of Jeff. So hopefully that's not scaring any of you. But that's a piece. So it asked me to ask you this as we dive into more of the what we do with our unique superpowers. And it said, for the inconsistent cleaning quality, how does Crystal Clean guarantee that the quality of the clean on day 90 is the same as on day 1? What's the system used to catch missed details? We've talked about this in previous podcasts with lead techs, systems, weekly analysis, these kind of things. But I'd love to hear anybody want to talk this through, Dave?
Well, the first step is scheduled inspections. So the account managers, they're assigned a group of accounts they're responsible for, they're accountable for. Their job is to get to know the client personally and develop a relationship, a friendship, and find out really what are their hot button issues, what do they really care about. Some people only care about the lobby and the front entrance, others care about the boss's office. Everybody's different. But the important part is scheduled inspections. So depends on the size of the client, of course, and a lot of other variables, but at least every 2 weeks or 4 weeks at the most for smaller clients, somebody is there to inspect the work. and preferably while the cleaners are just finishing up. So they can encourage the cleaners and say, hey, you did a great job, but let's retouch up this particular area. Then they fill out an inspection report. We have our own Crystal Clean app, so they go right on their phone, fill out the inspection report. That's all tracked and recorded and graded, on a scale from 1 to 5, so we can track the progress. That, of course, can be shared with the client if they want. Some clients don't really care. They don't want to be bothered. They just want results, and that's fine. Others, they love seeing that feedback loop, like you mentioned. So that's the first step, is the inspecting. And then we also track what we call client visits or calls. So again, every 2 or 4 weeks, somebody, usually the account manager or maybe the operations manager, will call or visit that client in person or on the phone, not just an email, but try to find out how's it going. They have a script that they follow. How would you rate our cleaning service recently? A scale of 1 to 5, and here's what we found. So we have to let them know what we're doing, because if they don't know,
Yeah.
So we'll tell them, hey, just so you know, we were in this weekend and we did the vents or did this, did that. They love hearing that information for the most part. Again, some don't want to be bothered at all, but the customer contact is critical, and it's got to be scheduled. It sounds artificial, but you can't leave it to chance. In the old days, we used to think, well, we haven't had any complaints from this guy for 3 months. Next thing you know, you get a termination letter. We just assumed things were good because they didn't say anything. Well, people don't always let you know when there's a problem, and it grows and it builds. So being proactive and nipping these things in the bud, as it were, is critical. And we've learned from our mistakes in that area. So now it is scheduled, whether it's an inspection or a client visit. Can't leave it to chance. We learned the hard way.
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
Okay. The problem, as was mentioned, people have declining cleaning. So they start day one, everybody's gung-ho, it declines. Our system is now an inclination. So I'm going to tell you we're better on day 90 than day one because of all the things Dave just said. So we get in, we do an initial clean, and everybody loves that. But the real test is out here on day 90, and we actually get better through that first month, second month, third month, because we stay in touch with the client. And Will can speak to this some more. A 30-day review established in there that's really key, and making sure that we get better and better. We're training the team. We replace the team if we have to, but it will get better. I'm going to say we're an incliner from 0 to 90. We're better out at day 90 and on.
Oh, let me unpack that, and then we'll go to Will. Will, think about how you can add some value here. 2 things came up for me. One is you really hit the note, Dave, on this idea of understanding what we talked about earlier. Person, company values, and then collaborating, co-creating to make sure that our plan gives you what you want or what you don't want. But we're going to do it anyway, because what you also shared is that in the old days, I don't know what the numbers are. I'm just going to say when we were a baby company that hadn't hit $1 million a year in sales, I'm just going to throw that out there. This was a mom and pop kind of mentality. Well, we haven't heard anything.
Yeah.
But if you go to the biggest company that has customer facing down to the you and me, Apple, when you go into an Apple store, if I buy anything or have a service, they are on it at a one-on-one level, and it isn't like inconsistent from what I've seen. It's the same in the Naples store as it is in the Coconut Point store and the Atlanta store and in the Vegas store that I was in. When I had an issue, they were all that, and I got a follow-up survey, and it was like, it was on point, and it was an easy follow-up survey. It was just like, give us 1 to 10 if you want to tell us more. I always put, team awesome, you guys crushed, here's what happened, here's what I felt, to give them that feedback. That's kind of what I do. That's the big part of this, is that idea that we're understanding, and it requires a skill set of active listening. So many people in the world, they're the kind of people, not to judge, I'm just putting it out there, that this is my world and you're a part of it. But what the highest performing businesses are, this is our world, and how can we make it better together? It's a completely different mindset. And what you're sharing with me is that part of the gift that you guys have, as Jeff really expressed and helped us understand the incliner piece, is that we're here to, through the setup phase, which can be brutal, that's the start of a new relationship, to get to a continuity phase where we're going to keep things going and keep adding value and inclining on that regard. We're going to be here And we're going to work with you to understand what the values and the things are that are important to you. And that's with every particular client.
Yeah.
That cool?
I was thinking of a large account that Will recently closed in Bonita, a big account, and they were very unhappy with the previous company. Actually, they had theft issues of all things, wow. And the owner apparently said, well, I can't control my people, and we're just like, they really said that. So anyway, we eventually got the account, and the first week was brutal because it was so big. I don't know, 20 different keys and what have you for different suites in this building. And the first week was really tough. And, hey, you missed this one or forgot to lock that door, whatever, little things. And we kept at it, trained the people. And it wasn't maybe the second or third week, the facilities manager calls up and says, wow, this place has never been this good. So we had to get through that first week. But my point is, from their point of view, they don't know at first, is this going to be better or worse or the same? But if you prove yourself after a period of time, and it was so gratifying when they come back and say, wow, this is the best it's ever been. We love this. Would you bid these other buildings for us? And that's the goal. But you have to prove yourself. They don't know who you are at first. You have to develop that relationship, prove to them that we're going to respond quickly, instead of making excuses, our bad, we'll fix that tonight and take care of it. And that's where the reward is when, they finally come back and say, wow, we want you to do more work for us.
So there's a couple things to unpack. One is a humbleness and an openness to realize, hey, we're probably going to get things wrong during the setup phase. Hopefully we won't in the continuity phase. And if we do, please report back to us, feedback loop. And this is the big question that came up in AI. What's the procedure for a client who finds a missed spot? You just went over that. And what's our guaranteed response and resolution time? And it sounds like it's pretty freaking immediate. Yeah,
speed is everything in this business. And you think about it on a personal level. If you hire somebody to do work at your home, you don't want excuses. You don't want them canceling out at the last minute. You don't want to see the price jacked up at the last minute, all those things. It's the same. You want somebody to say, yeah, I'll fix that, no problem.
Yeah.
And the entire company is empowered to take care of it, make the client happy. So I don't think there's any question from the top down all the way through. If there's a problem, everyone within the company is empowered to take care of the problem. We'll talk about it later.
Gotcha. As simple as that seems, how many companies have you ever been in that don't get that right?
Yeah, it's common. Yeah.
I can't say the name of it. It's a major national food chain, thousands of places. And at the high level, they don't reward their team above and beyond the store level. They don't reward their team specifically with clear goals, achievements, outcomes. It's just kind of fly by night because the co-owner of this organization never had to do that. I'm not worried about it. As a matter of fact, I don't like it. And it's hindering the upper level piece. Yeah. And I'm coaching one of the upper level people in this huge organization right now. And he shared with me that he is really tiptoeing around sneaky ways to bring this in and then help that co-owner realize that this is a opening threshold to another level of service. And he's almost there. And we've been working on this for 6 months. Wow. Isn't that amazing? So I just want to celebrate you guys have it from the top down.
We're trying.
Well, I have to say, though, when you look at the outcomes, I think you are trying, but you're completely nailing it in a way.
Yeah, it's we're a whole different company than we were just 2 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And the company's been here 45 years, but in just the last 2 years, we've completely changed. So we were talking about systems, which is critical, but it always comes back to people. If you don't hire the right people, you can't respond quickly. You can't solve issues quickly. And so, it gets into a whole other subject, but training people to respond and not get offended. It used to be in the old days, you would go in and inspect a cleaner's work and say, hey, this bathroom's still dirty. The cleaner, I quit. Whereas now we go in and say, wow, you did a great job on the office. This looks good. This is great. Would you mind retouching up the restroom area here? Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'll do that, as opposed to I quit.
Yeah.
It's all on how you approach and what relationship you develop with the people in your company as well.
Yeah. And that builds on this high-performance principle of co-creation and collaboration. People support what they create. Everything is a co-creation or collaboration. So when we apply that into the model you just shared, it isn't there's a third-party inference part to this. The best practice for that dialogue is where you say, listen, these things were great. How do you feel about how you did? That question I just asked is part of the co-creation. Oh, yeah, I feel like I totally knocked it out of the park. Let's go in the bathroom for a minute. Look around. If you could do anything better in this room, what would that be? Like, this is role-play dialogue we do with high-level managers all the way down to managers of techs, that kind of stuff. And it's really building the skill to co-create and collaborate. We do this work with parents too. Hey, when your child comes in, like, well, get your homework done. That's a dictatorial style of parenting. My dad was that. That was common in the 70s. But today's style of parenting, if you really care about kids and their growth, is empowerment of them. And go, listen, with everything that you're responsible for today, what's the rest of your day look like? Oh, probably should do my homework. Okay, what can I do to help you get that nailed? I always share this story, and I'll do this real quick because it really illustrates this point. My oldest daughter is very much a creative, and she had this black and white sheet of paper with all these formulas of math, and she sat there for like 20 minutes like this. And I went to her, and I have this picture on Facebook. It comes up as a memory. And I said, sweetheart, what's wrong? And she goes, Dad, I don't want to do this homework. I try to do my best page face, by the way. And I said, you're creative. Let's go in the studio. Let's use colored markers and put the formulas on the whiteboard. Okay. She did that. And I'm sitting in my studio with my phone, and I take a picture of me going, she's up there doing it in colors. She blasted through the homework. So there's a really important part of what I just unpacked. I'm getting chills telling you this, is that when you co-create and collaborate, and then your brain is in growth mode, you're like, what can I do to really work with the values of that person or the traits or qualities or characteristics of that person to make this experience better? To not elicit the quit math homework, quit the job, but to say, oh, they empowered me and they helped me see where the deficiency was. And so you just have to be real careful, and I'm happy to do this work all day long with y'all, by the way. If you're like, I think I could work on role play for co-creation, and in sales, this is amazing. But I think you already do it in a major way anyway. Well, that's a big piece to this puzzle. I just really want to make sure we land that, because that is a gift. There's 3 components to it. Active listening. 2, not coming at it from dictatorial traits, but coming at it from a co-creative. I always kind of think of it like a positively stern or a joyfully curious state. What can we do to make this better? Not what did you do wrong? Let's fix it. What can we do to make this better? We're weeing it, which is a third-party inference. That's a major key to this. And then third, is to really help them understand the connection point between how they perceive the world and how the world can be better if they just change perspective a little bit. Does that all make sense if we land that? Yep. So, Will, you've been quiet for a while, and I want to make sure we bring you into this. With what I've just shared, what's been shared, any takeaways, thoughts, insights? I feel like you got something to share with us.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm listening to Jeff and Dave and you talking about, kind of going from day 1 to day 90 in the cleaning industry and how to stay consistent. Dave brought up, the staff and the training. So I'm just going to say, in my opinion, I think it boils down to the 5 R's of janitorial. I'm going to get into the 5 R's. So it starts with the staff. You have to have the right staff. That's first and foremost. It's attitude, it's aptitude, it's finding the right people for the job. So it starts with the right staff. Who's on your front line? Have to have that. Then the right training. Dave brought that up too. You have to have training to the cleaner or the tech or the account manager, not only about scrubbing toilets and emptying trash. We're talking about locking and securing the building. Okay, we're talking about damage. Being spatially aware of your surroundings. There's all different kinds of training programs that we have that covers all this stuff. So it's a very intense, thorough training. Have to have the right training. You have to have the right chemicals. Okay, you can't use window cleaner to clean a kitchen floor, and you can't use degreaser to clean an entrance glass, right? You have to have the right chemicals. You have to dilute them properly. No glug method, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. No, you have to dilute it properly with the right amount of water, right? Make it so the floors aren't sticky and what have you. You have to have the right equipment. That's the 4th one. you have to have the right equipment for the job. So, microfiber mops are great and they work on many surfaces, but they don't work on some porous surfaces. You might need to use the old school cotton loop mop. So equipment is very important. And the fifth of the 5 R's that I think is the most important of them all is the right amount of time to do the job. People, different customers, different prospects will have grand opinions and big scopes of work, and they'd want the place looking like the Taj Mahal, and we can definitely provide that for you, but we have to have the right amount of time to do it.
Can we just sit back for a minute? Because I feel like what just happened.
That's gold.
I am a frameworks guy. And when you say 5 hours, I'm just like, yeah, I'm all in, my man. And then you broke it down in such an articulate way. That alone will be clipped. That alone will be vertically shorted. That alone will be used for content all over the place. And I just want to thank you so much for just calling that just off the cuff to go over a framework that's so solid in your being. But what's the benefit of that? It's that we have an approach. And the thing that I love about your framework is that it's rateable. If you were to put the 5 R's in a line and put a client name on top and then rate it 0 to 5, how well are we doing in these areas? And so that's a part of the system. That's an assessing of really going after it. Also, this is something in the sales side, and I know you know this, is that when you can come out with a framework and go, listen, whether you choose us or not, just take the 5 R's. Here's a scoreboard that I have for you, and just run it through with your current cleaner. Ask them about these. And you may have questions that are, instead of the statements that you shared, they're question versions. And then say, just ask them. And then have them rate it. Like, that's an immediate differentiator. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So from what you just shared, I want to unpack this so that people understand our drive and our goal through the lens of what's possible with AI and what's possible with just human psychology. We just created a scorecard of exception for people, ourselves, our clients, everybody to use to recognize true wisdom in the line of work that we do. You feel the gold you just shared?
A little bit.
A little bit. Look at it. Just a little bit. I'm like, oh my gosh. By the way, I love your hairstyle. Dave, I love yours too.
It's going to be mandatory.
This guy is carrying around way too much. Yeah. Maybe you can shave some of that and share with us.
Maybe by next meeting. Can I just say Will has the right stuff? Yeah. That's why he's here.
Thank you.
I think we need to just take a minute and celebrate Will. I'm serious. And I know this may be hard for you to hear, but the highest performers are like, listen, if you're going to be gratitude about me, I'm going to sit in total presence with it. And I'm going to be like, wow. Because this is, you think about the decades of your life to get the proficiencies that you have. And there's a lot of proficiencies to unpack, Will. One of them is the 5 R's, like to understand them. You can say them intellectually. Here's the 5 R's. You should pay attention to these things. But you can say them psychologically, energetically, physiologically, energetically, where you're really paying attention to posture, facial expression, tonality of voice, pitch, speed. And you nailed it. Like, I don't know if you realize all these superpowers you just exhibited, but I just want to make sure that we take a moment and celebrate that. Because as you go in the front line, which you do every day, people are going to feel a different level of energy, of care, of compassion. And what you just did with the 5 R's is demonstrated that unequivocally. Any thoughts with that, Dave?
Yeah, it was reminding me, Will and I, a few weeks back, were on a sales call, a large medical office account, and we were explaining our core values and our procedures, and they were pretty impressed. And they asked, well, if we go with you guys, will Will be the one to call on us? And I'm like, yeah, like whether, of course, if that's what you want. And so they really connected right there and asked up front, like,
yeah,
we like these guys. Don't throw somebody else in here. Give us that. But one thought too on the last R that really the most important is the right amount of time. And I can think of so many examples, and these guys can, where we're on sales calls, and we'll ask them, well, how long are the current cleaners spending now? And they'll say, well, they're here 4 hours a night, for example. And we know from production rates and the density of the building, how much use it gets, et cetera, that it requires 5.5 or 6 hours, let's say, to clean it properly. And we have to educate the prospect or the client and say, look, here's the problem. There's not enough time in the budget to do it right. And they may say, well, I don't care. This is our budget. Well, okay, our price is going to be higher because we don't want to have the same problems as the last company. Try to do 6 hours of work in 4 hours every night. Eventually, it catches up and you get all the same complaints again. So the right amount of time is critical, and it's an education process to teach them. And many times, they might go with another lowball bid, as it were, but inevitably 6-12 months later, hey, you guys interested in rebidding this? And then, they slowly realize they have two choices: lower your expectations or increase the budget to get it done right. It's that simple. You just can't. You have to have the right amount of time. So that one is the most important.
Man, I love this unpacking of framework. My brain, by the way, is going.
It happens all the time. Well, you
just addressed a big issue that came up in the complaints. This was the second complaint: unreliable scheduling and staffing turnover.
Yeah.
And we talked about the scheduling part in a big way.
That's why there's turnover. The cleaner, the cleaning tech is like, I can't do this. You want me to do 6 hours in 4? I can't do it. And then you have the turnover issue. So we don't want to get involved in that game, that race to the bottom, as it were. It's we'll hold out for the customers that can afford to have it done right.
So the big thing too that I want to unpack from that is this fact that if the customer has a preference for communication style, you've talked about this earlier, and we just talked about this. If they're like, Will needs to be the communicator, and maybe that wasn't part of the problem, then that's the rules of the game of this customer.
Yeah.
And we define rules of the game with customers. And I just want to make sure we reiterate, this is a co-creative and collaborative adventure. If customer says these things, then we aim, if it's possible, to meet them where they want to be and really work through that lens and celebrate the connection point. Does that all make sense?
Yep.
So there's a couple other questions with this particular issue that I want to make sure. How does our company attract and keep the best cleaning technicians? How do we ensure a stable, well-trained team for a client? You talked a lot about this already, but I just want to make sure we brought this to light. Any takeaways? Anybody?
Well, a couple things. One is pay. We don't pay minimum wage because you get what you pay for, so to speak.
Well, I'm presuming you mean you pay more than minimum wage.
Yes, yeah. Pay less. So that's a biggie. But the culture has a lot to do with it. Yeah. As you mentioned, we did a core values video. We have our applicants watch that before we hire them and ask, does this appeal to you? Does this make sense? And if they don't care, then they're not a good fit. So they have to fit our core values for one. And then, like I mentioned, pay a little more than the competition, which again, so it makes our price often a little higher. Yeah. But, we want to do the job right. We don't, we're not a low ball bid company, which is why we don't do a lot of government work, because every year they just get a lower and lower bid. And, it's that race to the bottom. Nobody wins.
Can I add another one?
Please.
The connectivity to the team members. So for years, this has been a real difficult thing. When you have cleaners that work part-time and they're out and about, we've always, through the years, progressively asked, how do we make them feel like they're part of the company? And I think we're finally, I won't even say we're there, but we're almost there, because we're trending to go, okay, with the connectivity that we have in our operations, now we have not just operation managers that keep a schedule and send people out to cleaning jobs. We have account managers and assistant account managers, lead technicians. So there's this chain that helps them feel connected first and foremost. They know when they need supplies. They have our app. We're really a touch point away. They'll see a true person show up with what they need. Dave's been good about having barbecues from time to time and bringing team members in. So we've been trying for years to build this rapport, if you will, with our team members so they feel connected to the company, so they're part of the company family. And it sounds easy and obvious to us to go, well, that's what we want. But it's been difficult just by nature of how this industry works. But I think we're getting better at it, and that's part of where we're keeping the key team staff that we need. So you pay them a little bit better, you make sure they feel connected to the company, you take care of their need, you empower them. We don't want you to be out there, and sometimes problems come up, and this happens where they're like, hey, we got blindsided with this tonight on an account. And you just kind of talk them through it like they need that. A little bit of take a little extra time. Don't worry about it. Obviously, we're going to pay you for your time. make sure the client's happy. And again, we can talk more about solutions if we need to, but more and more, I feel like the connectivity is happening throughout the entire company, and those team members where it's been difficult, it's getting better and better. And I think that's what keeps them around.
I think you just did a great job of articulating what's right above your head. Family, client, company.
I have heard that before.
You just lived right into it. But you went in the trench with it and then pulled it right back out to the big picture. And this is such a part of the Crystal Clean vibe, is around the growth path to that. We're not saying we're the masters here. We're on the growth path to that. Anything else to add, Dave?
Yeah, just what Jeff was saying is we don't want to give the impression we're there. You're never there. We're always improving and working on it. So we have the principles. We know what we need to do, and it's constant tweaking. How do we improve? How do we get better people? And the biggest thing is training.
Yeah.
Our training has increased dramatically, but we haven't even begun yet. It's about to 10x even more. These guys don't even know it yet. The training is going to go through the roof. We're going to overtrain in areas that we'd never considered before. Yeah. So as an example, our account managers who each might manage, say, 30 accounts, they'll be certified and trained in terminal cleaning, which is cleaning surgery rooms, for example. Even if they're not managing any surgery rooms, it doesn't matter. Get the training, the knowledge, so they have the vocabulary, the skills, learning chemicals, basic chemistry and cleaning, and what's the difference between sanitizing, disinfecting, what are surfactants, all of these things that they may or may not use, but we're going to overtrain, and that's exciting, to get the best people out there trained and overtrained. Then they, in turn, will train the cleaning techs and throughout the company. So even the administrators, the office help, they're still going to get advanced training that they may or may not really need or use, but it just pays off.
You just answered one of the big questions that came up with.
I was thinking of that expression, if you think education's expensive, try ignorance.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Really expensive, yeah.
The big question was, what's the commitment for training and So in industry of like nurses, you have to do, I can't remember the exact terminology, but you got to go get certain
certifications,
certification credits every year. So there's a constant, we call it reboarding in the world. There's onboarding and then there's reboarding. But then there's this idea that, think of it this way, when Michael Jordan was top of his game, he still went in to the gym or to the basketball court and practiced the free throw, practiced the run-up, the layup. Yeah. He practiced the basic moves, which felt obvious and easy, but he didn't want to lose touch with that second natureness of it. So when you say overtrain, it means that it's here. It's here, and I'm ready to implement on demand. And that's a huge piece to this puzzle of this. And the big question that it asked was, with medical and certifications and high security needs, what's the way that you guys approach that? And there's we're calling it an overtraining to assure that this particular facility has security protocol. And so we already are aware of it. And then we can make sure that's part of the system for that particular facility. Yeah. And then keys are put in the right places. You already shared that. That was some of the issues that came up. Well, I feel like you might drop another friggin' framework bomb on us. That's amazing. Maybe not. I'm not trying to put any pressure on you. Is there anything you got to share with what we've covered?
No, not at the moment. They just nailed it.
Okay, cool. He's like, I put in my freaking with the last one.
Mic drop.
Mic drop. Third element, we've really already covered this, is poor communication and unresponsive management. One of the biggest things that I love, especially early work with Jeff a few years back, was the immediacy of lead coming in. There was a couple times where we'd have a Zoom schedule, like, we just got a lead last night. I'm going to go drive out to their place this morning, and I'm going to go meet with them. And so that's like the antithesis to this poor communication and responsiveness. And that's a drive for us. But I feel like that can fade, just like anything, if we don't practice it and we don't reboard on that principle. Any takeaways or drive or thoughts about how we implement, we'll call it speed of implementation, speed of response? Anybody?
Will Power is now director of sales and marketing, so you can't fall off if you hire somebody like Will Power who's doing the exact same thing, right? And it kind of is, it's part of the company nature, and I know that you could say some of it's our personality. but also by design. We know that time kills leads. They're out there looking for the first response they can get. And so when you call them back right away, you probably stand out immediately, much less go and visit with them, get them a proposal on time. I can't tell you how many times we've heard, okay, we've got your proposal. We did the walkthrough. We're ready to go to work. And they're like, well, I'm still waiting on two more proposals.
You're the only one that showed up.
So, that's a takeaway.
Yeah.
Can I just celebrate your name? Willpower. Any questions or takeaways?
Yeah, I think Jeff is spot on. In today's world, it's digital. Everything's at your fingertips. So customers, prospects, they're going to want to hear back. It's the professional thing to do. I think about, just me at my own home. If I have a vendor that I want to take care of something on my house and they don't call back, I'm like, come on, that's not a good first impression. So you got to call them back right away and then run discovery, find out if it's the right fit.
Boy, I just love what you just unpacked. So here's a concept. This is the easiest access point for people to understand. If you were to take the relationships in your personal life and professional life that were important to you and put a name and a rating, and the rating would be, let's just say you, Will, and the rating is 10. How do I create and keep and sustain a 10 rating with that relationship? One thing we know is that if I don't communicate with you in 3 months, that rating naturally declines, right? So when we're exceptional about this, there's an immediate response. There's a drive to co-create in that discovery. Okay, so what's important to you? Dave was alluding to this earlier. And then there's a drive to deliver on it. And then there's a system behind it with accountability. You cannot underestimate that. You can have that intellectually or have that documented, but it's whether the team lives into it. That's the differentiator between mediocre business and exceptional. Does that all make sense? So our job, as we think about exceptional relationships through the lens of what we just covered, is to assure we're keeping in great communication from the immediate lead being hand raised. Hey, it's so-and-so over this company. What can we do to get to you quickly and efficiently, but also really get the time to unpack? Going back to what David shared about, we want to make sure we give you the time in the discovery. We want to make sure that we really do the walkthrough to understand what this job's real application is. I don't want to hear about what the previous company told you because they may not have the same qualities and traits that we do about thoroughness and cleanliness and so on, and that's cool. And we might not be a good fit for you, but we're going to unpack and discover that. But we have a humbleness within us and a drive to be right, to go after this through the lens of our values. Any other thoughts with that?
Yeah, the expression that comes to mind too is playing the long game. So when we go out on a bid walk to meet with a prospect, we don't put on a hard sell, like a used car salesman approach at all. We take the approach that we're here to educate the customer, whether they hire us or not. We can't control that 100%, but let's teach them what they need. Here's the problems you're having, and whether you use us or not, here's what I suggest. You get a locally owned company, for example. If you go with a nationwide franchise, these are the problems you're going to have because they're just subcontracting to somebody else. But teach them, here's the problem. And they appreciate that. And they may still go with the lowest bid, but we don't worry about that. We're playing the long game that eventually they'll hopefully come around. Yeah. And, we've talked before about Zig Ziglar, you can get everything you want in life if you first help enough other people get what they want. And so if we take that approach, it just always pays off in the long run. And that works.
Awesome. And this came right into the complaint number 4 that was formulated. This list that I got was deeply, deeply formulated about a study of this is how it works in AI. And I just love this so much. I said, go out and look at all the Google reviews you can in Gemini, because Gemini is Google's AI, and go and look at all the lowest ratings and just share with me a consensus of what the complaints were with the lowest ratings and provide it in a 5-point list. Does that make sense? The next one ties to what you just said, unclear pricing, hidden fees. And I think of that through the lens of what we didn't talk about this value, but transparency and openness and being clear about what this is and how this is going to look. And I think you just nailed that. It's one thing to go out to a customer and say, yeah, we can probably meet that price. It's another thing to go, we're probably not going to be able to meet that price. Here's why. Yeah. And it's that front end transparency that's a big part of it. So the question, the way it's formulated, and we may have covered some of this, but how do we ensure our pricing is completely transparent, especially with dealing with complex accounts, like a large condo association, large medical center, large office? there any abstract or any things you want to pull out of what is asked?
Well, the thing that comes to my mind immediately is communication.
Yeah.
Continually communicating with the client. We can do that, but then we have to take time away from here, or this is what it would cost. It's simply a factor of time, hours, labor cost. And, there are some customers who are always looking to get something for nothing. And sometimes you can help them, sometimes you can't.
Right.
But you have to communicate and explain why or why not, we can do this. And here's the reasons.
And we've become pretty comfortable with being a higher bidder. Not always the highest. I mean, it ranges for sure. However, we know that we're not typically the lowest bidder. And between the three of us, we've really worked up a nice model. So some people, like you get a national chain and they just want to boil everything down maybe to square footage sometimes. They go, you have X square footage, here's your price. And they really don't consider what it's going to take to clean the facility. So I like Will comes in with a methodology of time study. Literally we can go through and we can count how many offices, how many restrooms, how many break areas, what all does that really include, what type of floors, and you can kind of time study it out. And I've been big on what Dave said. In the end, it really does come down to how much labor do we have to provide and what type of supplies. You put all this together to take care of that account as we see it. No matter which way we do it in any of those formulas, we usually come out pretty close, pretty similar. In the end, we've always agreed on pricing. We've been very close, and we come up with a number. We go, this is what it's going to take to clean that account, whether it's common area cleaning or post-construction cleaning. And we feel like we're doing a fairly good job. So when clients will allow us to explain it and say, here's why we might be a little bit higher, it builds in what the inevitability is. The inevitability is there's more to it than what you really want to think. A person can walk in a room and go, well, and they do this a lot on our walkthroughs. Oh, this is nothing. It doesn't get used much. It'd be 5 minutes. You're like, it's a 30 by 50 conference room with 2 monitors and 20 chairs, and it's going to take more than 5 minutes, right? So we're building in to really allow for the things they don't necessarily want to consider, but if we can educate them, and when they do listen to us and hear that they want to have that next level of service and they want things to be cleaned consistently, you can win the account just on educating them on what it's really going to take.
I love what you just shared because there's a few things I want to pull out that we haven't really talked through in the values lens. One is deep thought to the real application of, we'll call it exceptional cleaning of this facility. 2 is it's a slowing of time, a thoroughness that you're going through. And you're coming at it through the lens of your expertise. So let's just back up a minute with the 5-minute conference room clean. Let's just take a look at this and unpack it. The third area, and I love this part, it's just a testament to what we're talking about today, is you said if the client wants to hear it. And we're pretty clear, if a client doesn't want to hear the whys, maybe they're not a good client for us. Maybe. But maybe we can help them break that and say, listen, we're a company who's thorough. We're also built on active listening and being real about this. Would it be okay if we broke down why this is important for you? And then do it. Sometimes you don't have to use all those words. You can just say, hey, I'm going to tell you why this is important or why the 5 minutes thing is not real. Grab a paper towel, clean that table, let me time you. Whatever. That's the concept. So any other thoughts with what Jeff just shared?
Sometimes, as far as educating the prospect or the client, sometimes it goes the other direction. Their budget is set for X number of dollars per month. But we can help them out, find areas of waste. So, for example, you've got this 20,000 square foot office. Do you really need every trash can emptied 5 nights a week? What if we just do the trash Monday, Wednesday, Friday? That cuts this many hours. Yeah. Oh, yeah, we can live with that. We never thought of that. Or why are they dusting these areas 3 nights a week? Once a week is adequate. So you can find areas to cut waste, and then which cuts our labor time, which cuts the cost. And so it can go either way. But the point is, if you help them see some of these things, because they don't know the cleaning business, they're not cleaning experts. We can find ways to cut the cost. And so maybe using a day porter on larger accounts has helped tremendously. That takes a lot of labor off the night crew. We have one we're looking at where the day porter's there 5 days, but the night crew's only there 3 nights a week. And it really works. It saves the cost, but they still get the results. They see the day porter every day, and they have that relationship. So there's lots of education involved and offering solutions.
Yeah.
I keep thinking of that term, be the go-to solution provider, and they appreciate it.
Yeah.
And if not immediately, eventually they call back and say, hey, we're ready, let's come on back in and let's talk.
So what I love about this is you guys have articulation on the estimates of all, even down to cleaning the garbage for a 50 bin off, I don't know.
Yeah, production rates.
Yeah, but you can tune frequency, and that can help stick within budget.
Yeah.
So basically you're tuning deliverables and frequency to stay to budget. If that's a necessity.
Expression in the industry is cleaning what's clean. Why clean what's already clean? Focus on what really needs attention and don't waste time, so to speak.
We've covered this last one, this bigger complaint, lack of industry-specific expertise. The way that I want to take this is that if your team needs a certification for, let's say, medical, and HIPAA compliance and all these other things, you're not like, well, let's see if we can get away without it. You're like, okay, then we need to do that, and we need to train everybody on that. Is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's asking, in our outpatient medical center avatar, what's the specific training, certification, staff, handle bloodborne pathogens, terminal cleaning, and you talked about that, sensitive nature of patient records, like you can see just in on desk. Any?
Yeah, so cleaning techs that are cleaning condo common areas, they have almost no need to learn bloodborne pathogen cleaning, but still, we want to train them anyway, so everybody has that knowledge. It just raises their level of competence and confidence, and you just can't learn enough.
Yeah. Any addition to that, if you will? Or?
Yeah, I was just saying, in the medical field, in the whole training process, which same training goes to every cleaner, whether they're cleaning an HOA or a medical facility. But, this training is so important because it's cleaning for health. We're in terminal cleaning, we're in operating rooms. So it's very important that our team gowns up, puts on the right PPE, the right personal protective equipment, and then bags it up when they're done and doesn't just throw it in a common area trash bin. They need to tie it up and throw it in the bin so it doesn't contaminate or cause potential contamination. And they all go through all those kinds of trainings.
Wow. You said PP, was it?
PPE.
I'm looking at that. I moved off of it on this iPad, but I looked at that and it said PPE, and you just said PPE. And I'm like, what kind of magician is this guy? He knows. He's on it.
Mentalist.
So that being said, now I want to dive into, as we look forward for our vision, we are really aiming to grow this business. And it isn't, I want to be clear about this. This is the thing we've all talked about. It's not about the profit. The profit is the side effect of family, client, company. So as we look to the next year, the next 3 years, the next 5 years, we're looking to hopefully put a zero on income before the decimal, just so we're clear. And in order to do that, it requires a high level of thought. I like to think of it like vision. Got that. Dave's document. Dude, put this in Basecamp. I want to bounce it around. I'm looking at that thing and I'm like, this is freaking amazing. It's vision, but then it's the strategy, the plan, and the action that follow it. So the big thing that we've talked through are 3 critical profit centers, we'll call them. But I'm going to take profit out of the equation, and I'm going to say purposeful centers of future growth. And one of them we've talked through is the condo common area cleaning. And then another area we've talked through is large office buildings. And a third area is outpatient medical centers. And so what I'd love to do is just kind of bounce around. What does it take for us to assure we understand? And we'll start with condo common areas. HOA, as we've talked about, there's a lot of terms for this. What does it take for us to really help the people who make the decisions there at least reach out to us and choose us? But what else does it take for us? This goes back to this framework idea. That may not be your 5, was it R's?
Yeah.
Yeah. It may not be the 5 R's, but it's something similar. What does it take for them to really understand why Crystal Clean is up here in an exceptional space as opposed to, yeah, we can do that and we can work on the budget, blah, 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 blah. So when we think about, and this is just focused on common areas, what is it that stands out for us to really serve? What do we have to say? Who do we have to be to scale that particular business line. Start with you, Dave. Any questions, thoughts?
Well,
takeaways?
first thought is experience. Let them know we've been doing this for 40 plus years. That's a biggie with condo common areas. What we're just starting to develop now are VSLs, video sales letters. So as soon as we get a request for a bid, we will send them a video about the company. So before we've even met them, they have some information about us.
Yeah.
Then, of course, we meet, do the walkthrough. Then we'll send another video with further information about our training program, our inspection program, what have you. So it's about training, teaching them. Common areas are a different animal because you're either dealing with a property manager or a board of directors that live in the condominiums. And so you're dealing with groups of people that don't always communicate.
Or like each other.
Yeah. They call them condo commandos. And they all have different levels of expectations, and you have to address all that, which some of it just comes from experience and dealing with them. And, of course, now year after year, they change property managers, the board members change, so it's always evolving.
Yeah.
But the key is provide consistent service.
Yeah.
And, that's what's carried us through on that side.
Yep.
And it's a different type of cleaning. A lot of it's exterior, dealing with the weather, the cobwebs, the hallways, and a whole different animal from cleaning interior offices or medical facilities for sure. But that's, I guess, relationships it comes back to with condos. You're dealing more with people, and what do they want? What do they need?
Yep. The big question for us as we live into the family client company is this: how can we make the decision so obvious? And these particular decision makers are typically the property manager and or the board of directors, sometimes the head of the board. So obvious that we're the one. At least to have in the bidding process to assure that these things are met. And the part that I love about what you just unpacked is we're educating and training and helping them. With the VSLs and the baby videos, meaning one topic may be covered. Like, here's the overview of how we're different. And we don't have to say how we're different. We're just like, here's the overview of us. Yeah. But they're immediately seeing how we're different. So one of the things we're working on, and this is something I've talked about in one of our previous strategy sessions, is how can we really help property managers and boards of directors have information about us in advance of the budget meetings for the next year?
Right.
How can we help property managers? And I'm going to you with this 5 R's framework. Like, how can we give a property manager a framework to assess? And it may be the 5 R's, thinking about it, a scorecard for picking your common area cleaner, and just making sure that these are like the education for the board as they sit in their board meeting. So I just envision Crystal Clean has this 5 R's. We got to go through these 5 R's with all these people, and then we might want to call a couple other places they've cleaned or whatever if they'll give us permission to see how they do on these 5 R's. Does that make sense? So is there any thoughts, and we may not have this in play right now, but is there any thoughts to what we could do to enable the property manager or the board of directors as a head of the board or the board in entirety to provide value in advance for them of making the decision? And we'll start with you and we'll move around. Any thoughts with that, with your conversations with this?
Yeah, I mean, just being transparent from the jump, and I think using the 5 R's is a good way to encapsulate it. Kind of telling them what we're about, how we're going to do it, what kind of systems we're going to use to get there, and that we're going to be consistent. Throw in a few references or recommendations. I think that's a good start.
Anything to add, Dave?
I was thinking these guys can expand on it because Jeff and Will have started doing a lot of networking with doing what we call lunch and learns, or they'll bring in breakfast to some of the association, condo management associations. Maybe you guys can talk on that, how that's starting to pay off.
Yeah.
What you guys do there.
That's, getting the opportunity to start. And so, proactively, as we meet people out at events locally, and then we offer to go visit them in their office. So especially for the CAMs and the association groups in the area, hey, we'll bring in bagels, donuts, we'll do a lunch and learn. And Will and I have had several of those, and that it pays off in educating the CAMs. And so in these layers that we have to work through, the problem is almost always the same, I think. And in common area cleaning, when they're ready to change and rebid their work, it's because they're going to say, our current cleaning staff isn't keeping it up. So we can convince them that we have the ability to keep it up and we have the desire to come in and keep it up. And here's how we do it, educate them, give them a price point. If we can make our way to the board members and start a relationship there, it's even better. It's not a question of whether or not we can come in and solve their problems, but we even need to discern what the problems are. They just because they say, well, they're not keeping up, you go, let's get more specific and figure out what that is exactly. If it's, say, exterior type common area cleaning has its own unique problems compared to maybe something that's completely interior type of condo community or a clubhouse, country club. So if they'll give us the opportunity, we can easily explain the things we're talking about with them, and then just see if they really want to make a change. Obviously, we're happy to provide our services.
I love that. The big thing, too, is that if they are working with budget, which typically I live in a high-rise condo and I see all this stuff pass by and I pay attention to it, you guys can tune frequency. And then say, the elevators in that area is seen every day by, in my one stack, it's probably 100 to 200 people. So that's going to be kept clean on a higher frequency. But the stuff that's in the storage room or whatever, that might be a lower frequency, and we can adjust for that. And there's a accommodation for that. And I just love that piece. So the big thing that I'm really working on, and this transcript will help us with this, is what is it that we can do through education, training, and, we'll say, care and compassion to really help the decision makers just keep us semi-top of mind and know beyond a shadow of a doubt we got this covered. And we can work with you. Sometimes it's not the right client. We've talked about that. And that's fine. We can't work with you. But if you are the right client and there's a constraint on price or there's a constraint on budget or there's a constraint on whatever it is, let's see what we can do to co-create and collaborate. Does that all make sense?
One little thing I'll throw in, and then they can talk more about it if they like, but almost with everyone who we're getting ready to work with, we have this conversation face-to-face. If we can communicate clearly together, like you have access to us and we have access to you, with communication we can get through anything. And so when we're getting ready to start work, I think typically they love hearing that, and it's one of the things that helps them to sign up and go, as long as we could talk, we could fix it, and we can.
So a big part of this, coming back around, is great communication. Yeah. Going back to that principle we talked about as we opened up today. Every human wants to feel seen, heard, acknowledged, and loved. The better we do at that, with education, with active listening, with great energy, the more sustenance we have for especially the recurring relationships, we'll call it. Anything you want to add on what we've talked about, Dave or Will? Are we good?
No.
Next area is large office buildings. We talk about recurring cleaning excellence in large office buildings. This is the focal point. So if we're stepping into the world of helping the decision maker for a large office building make the decision, or at least assess the decision, it still feels like the 5 R's are a part of this. Is that true? Mm-hmm. And then what does that unpack and look like? How can we add value to the decision makers in large office building? What does that typically look like?
Well, first thing comes to my mind is service schedules. It applies to all types of cleaning, but especially large office buildings. So when our cleaning techs will clock in on their phone, it's a GPS system. A reminder will pop up, hey, this is the first Friday of the month. This is the day we have to clean the ceiling vents. Yeah. As opposed to just do this once a month. No, today is the day. Or it's the second Thursday we have to dust baseboards. That's all programmed in a schedule, and it pops up automatically, so they can see it right on their phone because everybody has a smartphone, and all our techs have our access to that information. So that's the biggie, to provide consistency, especially in a large facility, because again, you don't want to clean what's clean. You want to use your time productively where it's really needed. Yeah. And so service schedules are critical. And again, that's something we never even developed thoroughly until recently. We're just learning more and more, and hey, here's a better way to do this. So again, we're not there. We're getting there and continually working on that.
Anything else to add?
I would just say, service schedules are very important, not only to our cleaning technicians, but they're important to us as a way to communicate with the customer, right? Dave mentioned it's the first Friday of the month we got to do the ceiling vents. Well, what if customer calls and says, hey, it's Thursday, the ceiling vents are looking a little dusty? Well, we can just refer to the service schedule and say, yes, I'm glad you brought that up because we're doing that tomorrow night as part of our monthly detail, high dusting. It's on a schedule and we can speak to it.
I can't even begin to celebrate the app in that lens. Is that we hear what you say, we have it in the system, and we can make an adjustment if that cleaning vent gets, especially during season during summer where the AC's on all the time, that kind of stuff. During summer months, we can turn that cleaning vent up. That's kind of how I do it in my condo. I have a recurring system every month from April through the first cold front, so October. I have every month I change out the AC filter, and then after that, it's every 2 months in between. And I always check to see if it's extra dirty or whatever, but it works out. So we're tuning this based on what shows up. But the principle of this is it's systemized, documented, and we can call it up and review it. And that is definitely, we're talking about big growth, big scale, putting a number before the decimal. That is a must-have. And then all the account managers are trained and so on and so forth through that lens. Does that all make sense?
Yeah. It comes back to systems again.
Systems,
you
baby.
Have to have the systems.
Exceptional vision. Exceptional relationships. Exceptional systems.
We've done this better, I think, than our competitors. If you just send cleaners out to accounts, they're probably going to fall into a model where they repeat over and over the same thing every night. And so between the app and our account managers and the service schedules that we're talking about and our ability to help the cleaner go, no, we have to work a little differently. We don't re-clean the same thing every night. And I think it's one of the differentials that we can help people with, and especially with office cleaning.
I love that. Big part of this. And do they actually take pictures too? And can they upload it in the app?
We always request pictures, yeah. So
so there's an accountability
on that. Noted should be pictures, and especially early on in an account, pictures right away of almost everything.
Yeah, tune the process.
Yes.
Yep. Part of the inclination.
When you send those before and after pictures to the clients, they just love it. You have to inform them, keep them in the loop, or they don't know what happens at night. They're not there for office buildings, which are typically cleaned after hours. So we have to inform them, hey, here's what the vents look like. Here's what they look like now. Here's, we scrubbed and waxed this floor. Here's before and after. And they're just like, wow, that's great. Yeah. On their own, they probably wouldn't even notice. So
I want to go into the third area, outpatient medical centers, and really unpack and understand that, because that's a different animal. Will, you very well articulated.
It is.
Some of the things. Do you want to start on that one?
Well, the way I would simplify it, the way I would convey it to someone who doesn't understand quite the complexities of cleaning in a medical, even outpatient surgical center or what have you, is, think of it as your loved one, a close friend, close family member is about to have a procedure in this room. Don't you want it to be as clean, as sanitary as possible for them? So that's kind of how we incorporate our training when they get to the site, and we kind of explain that vision and say, this is why we need to go above and beyond in every nook and cranny on a terminal clean. There's no cutting any corners.
Yes.
You have to really be thorough about it.
Just want to celebrate what you shared, Will, because this is very much about the feeling of the why. When we think about internalizing and making that about our mom, our grandma, our dad, our grandpa, whatever that is, and saying, I wouldn't want them to get sepsis or any kind of whatever, because of a poor job on a clean or a moderate, mediocre job, that really is a motivator for people who are aligned in our value structure. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And I think you just nailed that, hit it out of the park. Dave?
One reason outpatient medical centers has become one of our avatars, our target clients. First of all, we're in Southwest Florida, so there's medical centers on every corner.
Yeah.
So it's just the sheer volume. But the other reason is it requires specialized training. The average mom and pop cleaning company is not qualified to go in and clean these facilities. So there's a barrier to entry, so to speak, and we can set ourselves apart by having that extra training, becoming the experts in this field, and kind of separate ourselves from the rest of the competition.
Yeah.
And there's really very few that are good at it or interested in doing it, because it's much easier to just clean an office building than to clean a medical facility. It takes more work, more specialized equipment and the right chemicals, et cetera. So But, the expression, the riches are in the niches. The more specialized you become in any field, generally it pays off financially too. And you just go above and beyond everyone else in that field. So that's why it's one of our 3 main avatars that we're targeting. And it's paying off. It kind of builds momentum, and then the referrals start kicking in, and hey, these guys are good, So that's the reason behind that.
So let's do this. If I'm in charge of picking a cleaning company for my medical outpatient center, what should I know about Crystal Clean that just solidifies that they are a high contender? We've talked a lot about values. We've talked a lot about things, but specifically to the decision maker of the outpatient medical center, what should they know that just differentiates us? I've got some ideas. I'll be happy to share them. Before I do, Jeff,
one thing comes to mind right off. If they will just look at the facts, okay? We currently do this type of cleaning, and the hard part for us is progressively get out there and do more and more of it, and have them appreciate why they should want to hire Crystal Clean, because a lot of times it does come down to budgets. Unfortunately, for all the things Will said, you go, hopefully budgets wouldn't be as important as a clean facility. But as we educate them, and I think as long as they ask us to step up and prove ourselves, where we do clean currently, our reviews and people who would write reviews for us and about us and talk about Crystal Clean and how well we do, some of the comments are, we never have a problem. Like, I love it because I never have a problem with that building.
Yeah.
Well, then let's start giving us more of those same type of buildings, right? I think that's where sometimes we wonder why we're not doing more of it. And that's why it's on the list as a growth market, because it's certainly out there in abundance, and we do it really well. And the people that we work for will tell you how well we do it.
Yeah.
We just need to get out there and start getting more and more of it.
I'd like to expand on what you just shared. There is a direct correlation in my mind, and maybe I'm off, about the level of detail Crystal Clean can provide for an outpatient medical center and the reduction of liability for that medical center for a problem where somebody's got a disease or a pathogen through going in that space. And when we connect the dots there, and we bring it back to what Will shared, that if you care about reducing liability, increasing customer experience, we'll call it, meaning the person who's getting the surgery in the medical center or whatever that is, we've got that in mind. This isn't just a job. This is about health. This is about really helping people. It's my grandma or grandpa going in there, or my mom or my dad or me going in there knowing this is a Crystal Clean facility gives me reassurance that the chance of getting that pathogen or that thing, infection, whatever that might be, are reduced. Not eliminated, but reduced. It's almost like there's in my mind, I just love this idea, a Crystal Clean seal of approval on the door.
I was just thinking we could put one on the ceiling of the operating room so they look at it. Continually looking at it.
With you three like this, like the Jedi Council in Star Wars.
No.
So do you feel that connection point, though? That if we really care deeply about every human on this planet, which for the 4 of us in this room, that's like obviously. But this isn't the case for everybody. That it is a I'm going to say mandatory, and it might be a little heavy, but a mandatory choice to find a cleaning provider who deeply cares about process and will say to you, not what you necessarily want to hear, but what you need to hear to make the best decision for what the details of what you were sharing, Will, about how we're taking the bag and putting it in the proper place, not just throwing it in our truck and going back to the office and throwing it out, that kind of thing. That's kind of how I viewed what you shared, by the way.
That's right.
So let's talk that out a little bit. If we're going to really get that seal of approval and then have a nice little sticky banner that goes on the roof of you 3 and the Jedi, maybe with this angelic thing, going, don't worry, you're safe. Crystal Clean. This is a Crystal Clean environment. Any takeaways, thoughts, insights for that? Anybody?
I think, well, you asked, how do we set ourselves apart? What would convince them we're the ones? And I don't know if it's a correct approach, but I often mention when I was on sales calls is, look, we're we're like everyone else. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to miss things from time to time. But here's the difference. We're going to fix it. We're going to fix it immediately. So if we missed something last night and you call the next morning, we're going to send somebody out that day, middle of the day. Hey, can we fix this now? As opposed to, we'll get it this weekend or next visit.
Yeah.
They love that response. I tell them up front, look, we're going to make mistakes, but we're going to fix them. That's what will set us apart. And, not make excuses. And sometimes it's not our fault. Somebody was working in that area after we finished cleaning and they made a mess. It isn't even our fault, but that's okay. We'll come in, we'll clean it up, And we try to defend ourselves, but at the same time, let's just fix the problem. That's what they want, is a solution right now.
Yeah.
Not excuses.
Yep.
Yeah.
Will, anything to add?
Yeah, no, I just think that the training is stepped up to a different level for an outpatient facility.
Yeah.
It's even to the point of how to wash your hands properly before you even put on the PPE. It goes into, there's levels to it, and we have to adhere to it because medical facilities have what's called the Joint Commission inspection. They can come anytime throughout the year, and they'll check ceiling vents, they'll check baseboards. They have to be in full compliance at all times. So that's what we've trained our technicians to know at this medical facility. That's why the service schedule is so important, that we hit these per week, per month, so that they don't get behind. And then Joint Commission comes and we get the crystal clean seal of approval.
That is such an important distinction, that there is a regulatory agency that's in there to make sure that these things are happening. It's kind of like in the restaurant business, the health inspectors come in anytime. And that's something that is really mission critical for that line of business, is to assure that we have a system in play that can show documentation that we're living into what those pre-requirements are. So we get a clean bill when they come through. Very, very important. Anything else to add with large medical centers?
I don't know about medical centers, but that could be a branding idea we could research, a crystal clean seal of approval.
I love that.
We slap the magnet on the refrigerator in the break room. Hey, this gets the seal of approval. And
that's a very important
part. It could be a two-edged sword, but that's
well, the idea
we'll investigate.
That, yeah. I just was for whatever reason, I'm pitching you guys in the.
What was it? The Good Housekeeping seal of approval? Wasn't that a thing back in the day?
Yeah, it sure was.
I don't know if that's even still around, but.
Anything else to add with that? Outpatient medical centers? Anything else before we step into this really fun, adventurous part of our journey, and then we'll wrap up? I mean, it's already been fun and adventurous. Don't get me wrong. So this is the part that one of the things that I absolutely love about the New Style podcast that I'm doing, and this is where we want to share. If somebody just said, "Why crystal clean?" What do I need to know? What do I not need to know? And how do you play a role in this, Jeff? What would you tell them? Like, here's what I believe. Here's what I want to do. Here's why I get up. And something that David mentioned is like, Monday isn't like I go to work. Mm-hmm. It's like, I get to go to work. I don't have to go to work. I get to go to work. Is there anything you want to share to somebody who just be like, they may meet you when you're drumming after you're done playing your gig, and they're like, dude, tell me why crystal clean? What would you tell them from your heart?
From my heart. Okay. Well,
heart.
I had a career in corporate marketing and trade shows. Semi-glamorous, travel, enjoyed it. It was actually a lot of fun. COVID hits, that stops, and I meet Dave, and he offers me a job. And my options are go back to the trade show world or stay with Dave in cleaning. And I've stayed with Dave in cleaning because, we use the term visionary, and it's funny. Dave is a visionary. He never lives just in the moment, as you know. And we are currently in a model now that's amped up the fun because if you enjoy learning, if you enjoy feeling a sense of vibrance and dynamics in any type of company, we're a commercial cleaning company, but the goals is what makes it so fun. So Dave's like, hey, we got a team coming together here. We can do this. And all of a sudden we're reading more and watching more things that I know you're familiar with. I go, if we set our mind out here and say every decision that we make is to reach this goal, no matter what happens between here and there, we progressively are heading that way, and it's fun and it's exciting, and we're doing it with cool people. And as we continue to add these key people or next level rock stars, like Dave likes to say, it just gets more exciting and more fun. So truly, you can't just say you're a cleaning company. Yeah, we're a cleaning company, but we're a cleaning company with a lot of fun, cool people trying to accomplish a mission. And part of that does get back, of course, to satisfying the client. It's no good if we're not satisfying the client every day. And with like 150 different clients, the scheduling, the training, the workload, like there's a lot going on. The satisfaction at the end of the day is, man, we're taking care of all this and still heading this way as well. So you don't have time to worry about not being happy.
Thank you so much for sharing. Here's the thing we know about psychology and human development in corporations. People typically don't leave for pay. That can be a reason, but it's typically not that. They don't feel they're being heard is one big one. They also don't see growth. And boy, did in the last 6 months, I feel like there was an unleashment or mosification. One element of it. Of like, let's go out and just click this thing into a higher gear and let's just floor it and see what happens. And then all of a sudden, all this stuff starts coming out. So from the heart, Dave, let's talk about it.
I think in Jeff's case, too, he took a large pay cut coming from his previous job and with the layoffs and COVID, but it just kind of convinced him. And I think we both connected. And I said, just trust me, stick it out. We'll get you back to where you were, before pay-wise. And we did. And now there's potential to go way further. So there's a trust factor.
Yep.
And I think the same with Will. Might have been a similar bit of a pay cut at first, but now he's building up his work log of business and the pipeline, and so it's starting to pay off. And just trust me, we can get there, and they do. So that trust is really important and gratifying. I think my background, like Jeff's or Will's, I was in the nuclear industry, and we were overtrained, underworked, and overpaid. It sounds like the ideal situation. And it was great because I love to learn. I spent years of classroom training, learning these things. In the utility industry, no one's overworked. So they give you 3 hours of work for an 8-hour shift kind of thing. So you have all this free time to learn. So anyway, it seemed ideal, but I wasn't cut out. I couldn't see myself working that for the rest of my life because I wanted to be an entrepreneur, wanted the freedom. So even though we sometimes work even more hours harder, I have the freedom. Like today, if I want to go home at 1 o'clock and take a nap, I can do it. There may be an opportunity cost, but I have that freedom that I can do that. You can't do that in the corporate world. You're locked in, you get your 2 weeks vacation, whatever it is. And I just couldn't see that for me. So point being is, this is a lot of fun with Jeff, because we have a great team. We really care about each other. We're building something together. You can't do it by yourself. You have to hire people that are smarter than you in all these different areas and trust them to see the vision. And now it's coming together. Literally every week we get to another notch. Like so-and-so catches on. Jeff mentioned we were in Nashville for a convention. And one of our administrators in HR and payroll went with us because she lives near that area. She works remotely for us. I'll never forget, she was watching the presentations of these companies that had got to our level way beyond. And she light went off. She says, wow, I just never thought we could add another 0 or 2 more zeros to the equation. It never dawned on me that this industry or business could get that big to where they're doing $10, $20, $50 million a year in business. You just think it's just janitorial. It's a huge industry. The potential is there. And it's true in almost any business. Yep. But you got to have the right people, the right systems, as we discussed. So it doesn't matter what the business is. I'm not particularly a great cleaner. I got into this business because it's a good business. And as time went on, I learned all the details. But I can't stress that the working with the right team really makes it fun. I have less stress and headaches now with over 100 employees than I had 10. That was far more
factor of scale.
You have to do everything. Yourself night and day. So now that you surround yourself with really good people, it's fun.
I got to tell you, it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah.
It's like a flow state.
It's a project. It's like building a house. It's your house.
It's like I'm having fun at home with my lovely lady and family. I'm going to work. I'm having fun with my work family. Yeah. Which I don't have a work family.
And in my case, I'm working with my family. Yeah. My son's here, my wife's here. So Yeah.
So that's the big piece to this. I just want to make sure we unpack that part, is that you can choose fun. And if you got work ethic and have a good vision, and then you unpack the culture, I'll even say the life philosophies and principles. This is what we'll call that the rules of the game for this paradigm. And we go in and live to that. It's going to be hard in the setup phase with any business. People so underestimate the setup phase.
Yeah.
But when you get into a continuity and you scale, and like Jeff was sharing earlier, the inclination part, not only with the client cleaning, but with our total growth path, that's an amazing piece.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to share before we pop to Will?
Well, I get emails literally every week, sometimes every day, from private equity firms. Hey, we want to buy Crystal Clean. We love what you're doing. They don't know anything about us probably. They want to offer pennies on the dollar. I don't really know. But I'm not interested. I'm enjoying building this legacy, as it were, building this project. Now, obviously, if a ridiculous number of money came in, I would share it with everybody and we'll go, perhaps like winning the lottery. But I don't even respond to it. It's just, no, this is fun. Why? I don't want to retire. I'm turning 70 this year. And
Holy moly. You don't look a day over
people say,
35.
why don't you retire? Why don't you retire? Why?
Could be that sparkling
This is
coolness you
fun.
got up here.
Shiny, yeah. Well, I did just get out of the hospital last night. So, you got to deal with the health issues, which is another thing, actually, a whole off subject. But we do encourage each other a lot, too, health-wise.
Yeah,
because if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. So we bounce ideas off each other on diets and exercise, and yourself, too, at the 10X Health. And those things all... like a family, you're trying to help each other progress.
That's it.
But it's fun, and that's all you can ask for.
This is such a testament to this. So, how you feel about this question, my lad?
Forgot the question. What was it?
Yeah. Why Crystal Clean?
Yeah, like if somebody comes out and goes, why Crystal Clean? The way to think about it is, you could say, well, it's a cool company, and I'm kind of doing the sales stuff. Like, that's not even mediocre. That's below mediocre. But when we really step into the feeling in our heart, what shows up for you as you think about now that you've had some runway here and you've really been doing and respected for doing your work?
Thank you. And, for me, it's pretty much all I've done since college has been in the facilities management, maintenance, janitorial management industry, right? For almost 20 years.
Holy.
And
what? Back up 1 minute. I'm thinking you're not 25?
A little older, but
okay.
But one thing that I'll say about Crystal Clean, I've worked with several companies, and Crystal Clean has the core values, but they actually deliver on them. They actually manifest it. They work them. They practice the core values. They don't just say they have them. I'm very excited more than any other company to bring prospects and current customers here to this office, because I think they'll feel the vibe when they get here of the core values of the family, the family atmosphere. They definitely see it, that we're about the client, that, we're about our company. And I just think that that's a very real thing that makes me feel very confident about going out there in the field and selling services, is our core values, that we practice them. And then we talk about the systems. We've been talking about that a lot lately. We actually practice our systems. Lots of other companies will say they have systems in place, but do they really check and balance them to make sure that we're trending in the right direction, that we're being proactive to catch something before the customer does, and just making sure everybody's moving in the right direction. And that's something that Crystal Clean definitely instills on the daily basis.
It feels so aligned with you values-wise. Yeah. It's like an amplification of who you are as a person. And you're able to live a full you, engaged, joyful, present, through the Crystal Clean lens. Does that sum it up?
Well said.
Yeah. So there's 2 more questions for each of you before we wrap up. The next question is, if you're learning one thing right now that you think the world needs to know, one thing that you're learning right now, it could be a YouTube video, could be a book, could be an audio book, could be a podcast, could be whatever. Is there anything that you want to share? And I'll start. The number one thing I've discovered in the last 6 weeks is mitochondria health. So in every cell in our body, we have a mitochondria. That's our energy powerhouse. And what I realized, and this guy named Ben Azadi, he's on YouTube, he also has a book called Metabolic Reset, is that as good as I was doing with all the work, there was another level for me to do one thing and one thing only, and that is to assure that my mitochondria are fed, energized, and doing their work without reluctance, without me putting a throttle, a governor on their output. And what does it actually mean? It means like last night when I was running, I noticed as I got into my 50s that the last half mile, quarter mile of a 2 mile run, I was chugging through, like trying to make it to the end. And last night when I was running, I had energy in abundance. And I now, in the last quarter mile or mile of my 2 mile run last night, I'm like, all right, now it's time to go full out. And my brain was like, what are you doing, dude? We can't go full out. My brain was like, bring it, buddy. So I put on a drum track, a heavy metal song that I made with AI, and I had it go. And I'm like, wow. And I look crazy. I'm running literally down 41, down by Home Depot. I'm like, and people are like, what is this guy doing? He looks freaky. And I'm like, this is what that means in action. So the succinct thing to learn, if you're into really wanting to dial up, which is a huge part of everything we talk today, joyful curiosity, being the best you can be, getting up in the morning, just kicking your feet together and getting to work. His study, Mitochondrial Health. If you want a go-to for that, Ben's book, Metabolic Freedom. I've just through the first chapter, but his whole YouTube channel breaks down everything that he talks through on a daily basis. It is insanely powerful because it's just little tips, mindset, perspective, and tips to try this, try that. And you guys all know, I do 2-week intervals on anything I try. And I say at the end of 2 weeks, did this produce anything forward in my sensation of my being towards that outcome? And that's been the one thing. So mitochondrial health would be my thing. Will, we'll start with you.
Yeah, for me, the one thing for me is just cutting out waste. I think is a big one for me, and because time is one of the most important things that we have.
Yeah.
And what I've been really trying to practice both in my work life and my personal life is just cutting out waste. So, you can take that for many different ways, but I'll just keep it short and simple. And that's, in personal health, exercise, and when we're at work, trying to be the most productive version of myself and go after the main focus. Don't spend time on little things that are wasteful and wasting time.
Is there any mentor or any book or any YouTube video or any podcast that you recommend that helps you think through the mindset of cutting out waste?
I'll say Dave Harding and Jeff Doherty.
I love that. This podcast that we're doing right now is all about this cutting out of waste.
Right.
Maybe we do another episode on cutting out waste and then talk that through. One of the things that I love about what you just shared is the minimum effective dose. So many people think I need all these things. And then when you run it through the minimum effective dose of life, like, what do I actually need to feel safe, secure, or feel like I'm around surroundings of things? So Marie Kondo's book, The Kondo Method, says go through your stuff every 6 months. Ask, do I find this useful? Have I used it in the last 6 months? And or does it bring me joy? And if both of those are no, put it in storage, put it in your garage or wherever. And then 6 months later, get rid of it, donate it, whatever that is. And if you do that on a 6-month interval, I've done this many times and it's in my 6-month system. You just live a life where everything around you is minimum effectiveness, cutting out of waste. Is that helpful?
Yeah. Sounds like a good cleanse.
It is. And it's so fun because you're just like, okay, I saw you. I haven't been using you. I'm either going to use you or am I not? And if I'm not, let's just put you in storage and see if I even notice. And then at the end of the next 6 months, let me go through and take that to Goodwill or take that here or sell it on eBay, whatever that is. Really cool. Dave, but right now, one thing.
Well, health obviously is critical, but I'll stick on the business subject. Recently, we came across the book. I think you're familiar with The Science of Scaling.
Yes, very much.
So I loved it so much. I had these aha moments. I'm listening to it on audio while I'm driving, and I'm like, wow, that makes sense. I've heard this before in hundreds of other business books, but now is the right time. This makes sense. And so I got copies of the book for all the senior managers and forcing them to read it and review it. And we used AI to get a summary. It printed out in just a few minutes. But the key there, the first thought that really hit home was set what seems to be an impossible goal.
Yeah.
A 10X type goal. So ours was to double the size of the company by the end of 2026.
Yeah.
Sounds impossible when you've been growing like this to all of a sudden go like that. But the psychology of the science behind it was fascinating because as soon as everyone buys into that, we're going to do that, let's do that. Now your mind goes, like Will said, I have to stop doing this. I won't reach that goal if I'm wasting time watching these TV shows or doing this or hanging around negative people or toxic people. That has to stop. And like Warren Buffett said, the most successful people say no to the most things. You have to prioritize and cut out the waste, as we're just saying. And that is just like this moment, like, wow, that makes sense. You set goals in the past, but if you don't buy into it and really believe you can do it, you don't get that psychological benefit that, okay, here's what we need. We need this system, this software, these next level rock star people, which we're replacing underproductive people gradually over the last few years. And it's all of a sudden, wow, what a difference. We've got Jeff in this position, or Will here, or, Aksari's Reth, and these other individuals doing different projects. It's like, wow, this works. And just a brief thought, another book written by Ben Hardy was Who, Not How. And the same thing is just like, that makes sense. Who can do this job better than me? Who can I train and delegate this to, and they can run with it? Because you can't do everything; it's impossible. Yeah. So that's what's really.
It's so important. There's 2 books that you recommend. Yeah. Both from the same author.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then you mentioned Alex Hormozy, so we're watching those videos every day.
I got a new one he just did yesterday.
Yeah, I'm driving people nuts because I keep emailing him these videos. I said, you got to watch this one. You got to watch this one.
I'll send you the link to it. I downloaded it. For that.
So,
and I'm not like trying to do stuff that's unethical, but he's like, share this.
Yeah.
If more people that can grow from this, it's a VIP thing that they offered with the program I'm in. Yeah. Big part of this. So the big part of what I'm trying to get at through this part of our podcast is that we're all in a mode right now where there's something in front of us that we're focused on that we recognize as our next step for growth. And scale's a piece of this, but then coming back a little bit, it's who we are. To have a bigger picture perspective of mindset of growth. Like, what's our limiting value, our limiting frame of reference that we just need to bust to go out for the extra zero? And it isn't, and I want to reiterate, this isn't about the money. It's about the effect. We go right back to the large medical facility or the medical facility. And we think about, if we were the person who cleaned this and we saved one life because we did a more thorough job, that's a true effect of our mission. So we're out to save lives. And we don't just say that like periphery kind of, we're out to save lives. We're like, no, we're out to save lives. If you get the crystal clean seal of approval, that means that we're in a system with you that is on board for doing this cleaning in a very thorough way, using the right chemicals and the right time and all the things you talked about with the hours. This is a huge piece of this puzzle. So thank you for sharing. Something you're learning. Something you got for us.
One thing, really?
I don't know. No, you could talk about more than one thing.
You know what? I follow the trend of Dave. So Dave's bringing in, like you said, books. So we both go back to Zig Ziglar when we ever started talking. Like, yeah, I love Zig Ziglar. Ken Blanchard, Traction, Good to Great. We've read a lot of the same books and had a lot of the same mindset. So currently, the science of scaling and the hermosification is kind of funny. I think if it's going to be one thing, I would say simplification, because it's too easy to go after the shiny thing, or even just to come up with ideas to go, hey, we'd be really good at this.
Yeah.
And we live in a world, our industry is closely connected to how many other service programs around Southwest Florida go, we could take on pool cleaning and landscaping and AC, and we could start our own cam company, and we could do a lot of things. I love that we're kind of circling right back around to go simplify. What do we do really well? Who are the avatars that we want to go after to 10 times the company? And that simplification really helps me. Like, that's the kind of thing I embrace. I'm like, okay, we can do this. We are really good at this, and we can go out and get more of it and start our growth chart like that by selecting who we want to do business with and setting our floor. So coming out of the science of scaling, we want to set a new floor, identify what it is. I think it'll continue to be elevated in itself, where we're not so worried about what's down here, keeping our mind up here. Translated that into my own personal quest. I've got a chart on my desk in front of me that starts Saturday, but I already kind of started to lose weight, because I was like, if I want to lose 30 pounds, which is really has been my goal, I have to get serious about it. I have to make each decision based on, is this going to help me lose 30 pounds or not? So I set my timeline, November to April, 30 pounds, got my chart. I'm on it, I'm starting it. But it really comes from the science of scaling. Going, if you're going to make decisions based on this, it affects the way that you think in the moment.
Yep.
And that's what we're doing in business. And it simplified things for us. That's my one.
I love that. And I want to tell you, I will go over after our session today the fast path to healthily taking off weight through what I've learned in the last. Well, I've done this many times over the years, but I've sustained it since 2012.
And that's the hard part.
And it's the sustenance of it. But I'll go over that with you afterwards. But I just love the simplification part. How can we simplify? How can we, and you didn't say this exactly, but how can we deepen focus with some of our golden elements? And then the absolute magic of your vision that you sent me an email and put it in Basecamp. We're going to bounce this around. But these 3 tiers that can get us to that goal. And the goal is one part of it, but what you've shared and even in the core values video we filmed, it's about the effect of helping people. And in the context for the medical centers, saving lives because of the cleaning process and the system that we have that somebody else may not have or have the commitment to that we do. Like we're in the business of creating, building, and sustaining and growing great relationships. We're also in the building of saving lives. So let's just get real with that and move it. So final question. We'll go around round robin. What's one thing or more that you loved or learned today in our episode? Start with you, Will.
Let's see. What did I learn today that I loved? I think I learned that everyone here in this room is all on the same trajectory. I already knew it, but it just kind of reinforced it, that we're all on the same plan to 10X the company and how we're going to do it and with what kind of tools we're going to take to get there. And I just like to hear that a lot of our ideas paralleled each other. It just makes me feel good all the way around.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. Dave?
How to put it? What I learned was, as you guys know, when I came in this morning, I've been really under the weather. I literally just got discharged in the hospital yesterday. I had kidney stones I was dealing with. So I did really not want to do a podcast today. However, once we sat down and the influence of you 3 and talking and the motivation, it's like, wow, I feel better already. I'm re-energized again, where I literally had to drag myself here today physically. Mentally, I wanted to be here, but physically, I was just dragging. And now I feel like
sensed when you were there, I got to challenge Dave.
And I got to commend you, Charlie. You pushed me to sit in, and the first thought was, well, just sit in and watch. And, but once you get going and talking. Yeah. But the point I'm getting at is when you're with the right people and they lift you up, then you get moving, you get motivated. It's a team effort, so to speak. So that's what I learned specifically today from this meeting.
The big part about what you just shared is how do we put ourselves in great energy to help us when we're down? The other part of that is, this is a big common denominator for people not on the growth path, is they're just not asking for help. So where are we asking for help? We don't want to literally say, can you help me? But I could detect that when you were here. I'm like, get in the room, Dave. Just sit in. As soon as you started talking in our first part, I was like, okay, we're on.
You need someone to nudge you and push you sometimes to get out of your comfort zone. And, and next thing you know, wow, I feel better. You were right,
I'm so happy to hear that.
That's it.
And I want to share that's a testament to a lot of the values we've talked about from the Crystal Clean perspective. And that exudes beyond family to client, to company, is that we're going to be there to uplift you if you're in a bad place. And it may relate to the cleaning, but it might just relate to, an owner having a bad day. And our staff's in there with smiles. It's like, there's people that are doing their job and they're happy about it. Oh, I should reframe. Does that make sense?
Yeah, if I was in the corporate world, I wouldn't have even gone to work today.
Yeah.
But here, I'm like, no, I need to do this.
That's a different part of the passion of this. And I just love how it pulled you in, and then we kind of nudged you in here.
Now I'm looking forward to the rest of the day. What can we do next,
And take it easy, of course. And I'm sending you all kinds of love, health, and healing energy. So,
Thank you.
My man, Jeff. Love or learn, if anything.
I think that's the theme. We could all talk about and expound on our expertise, things we've learned, things we believe in from a business perspective to grow and do things right. But I think more than anything else with this group, and this did go through my mind earlier before anybody ever started talking. I was like, we're kind of a band of brothers. Dave being the big brother, and we're working our way through the chain. We all have the same hairdo almost.
He's a little shaggy.
It's the energy, and it's the fact that we want to do the right things for the right reasons. And that's been a model for me. I guess I've always kind of said that, hey, if I do the right things, I'll get the right results. And we all want to do the right things for the right reasons. And whether it's business or personal, I think we all like each other. We'll help each other in any way that we would ever need to, because we care. And that comes through in our personal lives and our business lives and in this little dynamic right here. And you always bring more energy. That's your gift.
Oh, thank you so much.
I enjoy when you're here, and we always learn a lot, and I think we just have good, fun conversation that maybe it's already in there, but you kind of help bring it out.
Yeah. And I really feel like the work we're doing is legacy because this stuff goes out on the internet in all kinds of forms. I mean, your core values video is now on TikTok. You've gotten over 1,000 views on some of the clips in it.
We better make a new one to improve it a little then.
I just think it was so authentically you. But what you've been sharing, the Band of Brothers concept, is that the world needs to know. This is easy for us to understand because we've been in, we'll call it, well, I'll even say toxic relationships in our past. I think we've all had some of that in our lives. I know I did. We've talked about that before, not on podcasts. But when people see us and our energy and realize, wait, there are people like that, that itself doesn't have to be about what we're talking about. It's just the energy exuded from this beautiful journey. So thank you so much for sharing, Jeff. So what I loved and learned today is that I'm getting really clear on going into 2026 where I want to double down and amplify my efforts. And I am on a very clear path to really see how I can serve and support the Crystal Clean mission and be better for each of you in that goal. One thing that I absolutely love is this framework you drop, like a mic drop. It wasn't like just a framework, Will. It was the reason why. I feel like if we just did a podcast on the 5 R's, that you would be able to go so deep and articulate and illustrate and challenge people and give people plenty of examples in different modalities. I'm talking about common area cleaning. I'm talking about, here's an example of how it showed up in a large office building. Here's an example of how it showed up in there. I just feel like there's a lot to unpack, and I knew that about you, but I didn't see it that way. And then when you just unleashed today, I was like, what is going on? So it is an honor for me to be in the Band of Brothers and doing the work with y'all.
Well, thank
and
you.
I'm looking forward to Vegas. So that being said, I think this wraps up this beautiful episode. Thank you so much for being part of it. Take care, everybody. Thanks for joining us.